Good morning, Green Room. Hey, Pam, how you doing? George, Gary, Gustav, good to have you here, man. Hey, Alex. All right, Jeff. All right, so we're kind of starting out here. You pretty quiet. I guess that was to be expected. I think so. Hoping that sell setup that we have here actually does follow through. I don't know what would be the motivation for it, but we'll see. Good morning. UA was one I had on my list. We had some decent looking stuff that looks like it can go higher. The holding back here with the markets. I'm not sure that what we have actually will. This gap up is being held on to, and we had some stuff in the letter that looks pretty good. But as the markets go here, it's kind of a yawn. But let's go through where we ended last week, just looking at the ETFs. And so I said we got this sell setup. It's in a downtrend. Rallied up into some resistance there. The 20 MA, the 200 is flat over the top. And, as we, how we look at moving averages and interpret them, it's the only thing we really put on our chart besides volume. But as we look at moving averages, we notice several things on how do we interpret them, because we use them what we call a visual aid. So we take note of the position that they're at in relation to prices and the other moving averages. So it just gives us a glimpse at a picture that immediately we interpret in multiple ways and then move on. Of course, we can do this without them. But, when I look at this, immediately it jumps out at me. The 20 is under the 200. The 20 is declining. The 200 is flat. Sometimes you look at a stock and the 200 is pointing down, which means the correction's been going on for a longer period of time versus this one, which happened pretty fast, where it was rising and it just sliced underneath it. So now it's flat, but prices are under it. The 20 is under the 50. The 50 is rolled over. So we have a relatively well-established move to the downside, which came down to, this price support, as I said, pretty fast. Look at that straight move down, and then the next move and the chop, the reversal there. And, there was the first significant low, and it tried to hold this one. It moved up a bit and failed. This is where our internals initially got to an extreme, a bullish extreme. It was a pretty lame bounce. And then the next move down here. And so the question is, if we get this sell setup to follow through, prices have now, I'm just getting my drawing tool here. Prices have now created a new reference point of support that wasn't there. And that is how a W bottom is created. Right? So where prices are moving lower, a swing low forms, and we define that as 3 higher low bars to the left and right. So it meets that. Well, now we've got a red bar reversal. It gapped up, and we had that nice short on the Qs on Friday. We got its red bar. So now, does it go down? That was one scenario. Right? Can it come down here? I don't know why it would, right? Today or tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow, everybody's looking for more information. The TV is just full of people with opinions as to what's going to happen. But once that happens, now it's like, what does that mean? Okay, so how does the market interpret whatever it is? So back to this low here, as it forms, sometimes it'll slightly break. And then what I'd love to see is a big wide range bar off of that. And then we buy it, looking for prices to move up from there. Now, let's just clean this up for a minute. I always want to give different scenarios and price patterns because we never really know how it's going to play out, of course. This kind of a pattern could come here and maybe form a higher low and up, so we might get a little down move and then quietness. Can it come down here? Sure. The next support level down at this level here, which, I measured from here to here, it just looks like it's about 12, 13% if it was to go down there. So, we don't know at this point. We had this move off of the low. It wasn't a deep retracement, where we would look from here to here, where, the way my rules say, well, if it retraced 80% or more, well, I now interpret that as a sideways trend, even though it hasn't exceeded that major resistance point yet. So right now we're sort of in limbo in a sense. We don't know what this is going to do, primarily because of the news, but we have a sell set up here. So we'll see how that follows through. The Qs, everything is pretty much the same, give or take, little differences. Markets not always together. A lot of times one is leading the other. They kind of look very different. And that's where the concept of one market playing catch up with another, or one that led the way, like the Russell led the way down. So it's showing a little bit of relative strength, some stabilization since it got to an extreme first. But, right now we've got the Qs here pushing up. And here we can see the moving averages are converging with each other, where the spiders, they were a little further apart. So again, just a visual aid, as you can see the differences, but in any event, the alignment is pretty much the same. Prices under all the moving averages, 20 under the 50, both are declining, and so on. Now, this did not get as far. Let's just move this down here. And so it didn't quite get down to that prior low. And it's got some significant support down here. If it was to come down here, again, because of our internals, we'd look for stabilization and a turnaround for that end of year seasonal rally. So that's pretty much what we're waiting for to really press the accelerator for a great setup, which I would anticipate is going to show its face by Wednesday. Right? When we come in on Wednesday, futures will probably be up or down pre-market or even overnight, which I'll be looking to see what they're doing as this unfolds, and then see what happened over the last couple of days. And, we'll get our plan together as to how we're going to take advantage of that. And Russell had a decent bounce as it came all the way down to its further support level down there. So it started to lead the way up. We'll see how much of it may pull back here. And what is it doing here pre-market? It's just flat, right? It's a really flat open here. Even looking at what's moving around here, last I looked, well, some stuff is moving. What is this? Natural gas. I don't know what's moving that. I haven't checked any news, but that's what I see as a big mover there. 20% mover. Wow. All right. Well, Dan will cover some of these others. And transports, where are you? I sent out a chart of the week over the weekend. If you didn't see it, go to the chart of the week on the site, and talked about a few indicator concepts.
Hey, I didn't get it either.
You didn't read it?
No, I didn't get the email.
No?
Uh-uh.
Now you're making me wonder, Dan, because I hit the button. Did it post?
I'll check.
Hold on. It's on the site. You're going to love the title. Peter got the email. Okay, others got it.
All right.
Check your spam. Whitelist Master Trader. You should do that. You're an owner. All right. So transports, they got down to that level there. Look to the left. That's part of the theme in that chart of the week. Look to the left. Get all the indicators and lines off your chart. It's so simple as to where prices are going to bounce or are going to try to bounce. All right. So here, look to the left. Here was the void. First stop. Little minor blip up down to the next level. A little bit of a stronger move up. Well, here's where we're kind of sitting back. What's it going to do? Is this sell setup going to follow through? It's in a downtrend. So just taking internals and seasonality out of the analysis for a moment, this setup is supposed to take out this low because it's in a downtrend. And we do have the seasonality and internals saying that we should get a turn here. So I'm uncertain as to how this is going to play out, especially because of this election. And who knows, whatever news could be tweeted tomorrow or today about China or who knows what. So, we got some uncertainty to deal with here. So I'm keeping the powder dry, so to speak, and we'll see how this shapes up in the next couple of days, which, with that news out of the way, it should present a tremendous amount of opportunities just based on the charts and the internals. And look, the market's always going to find something to worry about or think about. And it's just the way it is. And if it didn't, the media would have to close shop, and they're not going to do that. So they're going to find the next thing to be trying to talk to us about, and we have to filter that out. All right, Dow pretty much looks the same thing. Look to the left, there's the support. Where are the futures here right now? Just dead in the water here. Just inside day so far, and it is possible, right? What I wrote about in the letter is that it would not be really too surprising if this week ended with an inside week, meaning trading inside of last week's range. And part of what's out of sync here, well, I don't have the internals chart up here, but what's part of out of sync is the internals got a little bit bearish up at that level. Sentiment is still bullish. And what's also out of sync is the fact that we've got a bullish reversal bar at support in a broken trend on the weekly. It's not like it's still in an uptrend, but we've got a bullish candle in a higher time frame at price support in opposition of a smaller time frame with a sell setup. So theoretically, we would always say the higher time frame is the one that would win, and that's our bias. However, this trend is down, so and the weekly is not in an uptrend. So we don't have everything in alignment here to have a strong bias to move higher. So what I'm thinking is it's the possibility to have an inside week, which would really be perfect, I think, because if we go back to the weekly chart here, this was a pretty nasty move to the downside, just like this was a nasty move to the downside. And when you get that, you need time to repair the damage and uncertainty about what's happened. So having an inside week and possibly some jiggling around for a couple of weeks would be ideal. But if we do get that powerful reversal that I'm hopeful for on the daily time frame, my opinion is you just have to buy part of a position, money management, according to your plan, and sit through whatever's going to happen, because once these institutions come to the conclusion that this is it, they cannot miss the boat, and they tend to go overboard with, jumping over themselves to get into position. So there is the possibility of missing a move, and you can't just, I'm going to get the perfect entry. It's more difficult to do that these days than it was many years ago, because information just moves so much faster. All right, let me get moving along here. I thought it was going to be much to say, but sometimes I talk too much. Anyway, sell setup, same story here. Looking at the cues here. We'll see if it breaks Friday's low, and that would suggest a move to the downside. So look at, as if you're an intraday trader, you'd want to look at that 68.40-ish level where there's a little consolidation right there. As I said, the Dow already looks pretty much the same, but little to no support underneath here. though, because it went up so strongly. So there's little to no support, and it bounced from that level right there. Look to the left, no fibs, no trend lines, no extensions, no Jacomi clouds. Just look to the left. Those guys just love it when I come on one of those webinars where you you have a whole bunch of people, different education firms doing it, and I come on and talk about the things that I do. They probably want to crawl under a rock. You can't argue with it. I'm showing the facts. Anyway, crude oil just got smashed and pushed through that level. That might be a peekaboo little break. Sometimes that happens. As we see this little turn here, but that's a big move. Cut through there, cut through here. The next level is at 62, which certainly does make sense, but that's a lot of a move in a pretty fast time. Gold continues to act well here. It bottoming stocks or commodities, ETFs, whatever it is, they take time. They're not momentum moves higher, so they take time to rebuild. And that's what an accumulation pattern is about, whether you call it a downside shakeout, a head and shoulders bottom, a long base, whatever it is. They take a little time. And so far, the fact that buyers stepped up on that dip down toward that minor support as they did, that's looking pretty good. And so far, it's just consolidating at the top there. So that's it, Dan. All yours.
All right, thanks. Good morning, everyone. Open positions, very light. And for the weekly options trader, I did the video as always on open and close positions, and we only had one of them I canceled because of the earnings mix up, but we were 4 for 4 and 100% also in the advisory letter. I think we only had 2 or 3 trades in there. So yeah, we've been very light, but that's what you have to do, more so in day trading mode. We have this DACU here, put spread expires in 2 weeks. Another example, it's just gone sideways. And I think we entered one of these 2 bars. And just time decay, we're at like 70% of max profit. And it actually looks like a directional if it can give us the something else of showing that the bulls want to bring it higher. QQQs, we did a bear call spread on Friday when Greg, nailed his little entry. We joined him with a call spread. And with the weekend time decay, even though we're opening flat or up a little bit actually, with that it should be bigger profits just from the weekend time decay. Yeah, I watch those every day. We'll go through them, Alex. We'll go through them. So MJ is the ETF, of course. Cron, Tilray. Yeah, I think they're getting very close. Again, we're going to have some risk ahead of the midterms here. CGC. They aren't no-brainers, but yeah, I watch them every day. Let's look at some gappers here. 1560, this is a bullish gap. We'll come back to it though. DGAS here, this must be an inverse to the downside. Well, inverse to the commodity. And Pat said colder than expected winter. But this thing has a drag also, contango, because of the way it's made, right? Just similar to anything that's based on the underlying ETF, which is futures having a role. So natural gas, oil, volatility, that's what creates these drags. So similar to VIX, VXX, my bias on DGAS here is to short every bearish pattern. And that's an ugly gap down, and because it's levered also, of course. DWCH, never heard of this little guy. 13 bucks, gap's too big. And the way it's going sideways there, that just has the feel of a buyout. Old Nelly, 977, that's doing nothing. Oh, and these were, yeah, I got a mixture here. I don't have any earnings. I don't have any earnings stocks, actually. So these are just pretty much leftovers plus from our weekend scanning. This one, wide range bar breakdown and a downtrend. Nilly, that still looks lower, so that'll be a go-to if we need a short. Lester here, breakdown failure, extended. This is in the transport. I like the climactic weekly. That is a put spread candidate. This one, I had loaded up to give it as a bullish 1, 2, 3 in our advisory letter and even a put spread. And then I looked at the name and it was therapeutics. I'm like, oh, shoot. They're based in Europe somewhere. But that's a beautiful pattern. If so, I wouldn't mind day trading a bio, because then you don't have overnight risk. You still have intraday risk, of course, if it gets halted on news. But to me, that's a bit more calculated risk. EURN. It's already up far from this run from the prior low, but look, it's churning. It got through these 3 topping tails, and it has a void above on the weekly and monthly. NXPI is a bullish 1, 2, 3, but you know, it's had a big run up here at the 20. But if it can take out these highs, you know, it's at resistance, then the next stop is 90. Sienna here I have posted as a core watch and a put spread. Let me put that in a different window here. Yeah, that looks great, but I couldn't give it as a breakout play after it's up 4 days in a row. That just kind of doesn't make sense unless it went sideways here more, or red bar ignored or something like that. Because your stop really has to be under here if you're going to core it, that is. Bed Bath and Beyond, kind of a reverse head and shoulders looking thing. I was looking to sell puts on this, but there was no juice. COG, I like. See, now it's gapping up, darn it. Now this one I almost put in official. And remember I just said on this other one, oh shoot, that came quick. Whichever one I just set it on. These 2 bottoming tails and red bar is my resting spot. These 3 bars make it acceptable to go long. But I still didn't make it official just because the oil ETFs were so weak. But I'm going to put that in a window. I see Tesla falling here, Apple falling. But COG is great relative strength also to what the oil ETFs are doing. XLP, we're going to go put spread over Friday's high. WSO, it's kind of making a bottom, so it's on my watch list. UAA, I came close to putting this in as a bullish 1, 2, 3. We'll keep an eye on that. I like the fact that well, we got mixed signals. IWM the strongest here. Q's coming in with some of these weak fangs. Apple being the biggest drag. Diamonds and IWM are holding. I think we're pretty much going to be in day trade mode until Wednesday, even though we did just, you know, some plays. They seem to be okay. This one has been beastly. Look, even though it's run from whatever, from 3 to 23, this is very bullish action here. That's still strong. Old Tiva here is a pseudo 123. Keep an eye on that. GE, we're just watching. See if we can get a double bottom retest there. Google down 21. I had this. I posted in the weekly as a bear call spread watch. Again, I just didn't want to give too many official trades here, but 11:45 and above for Friday. Looks like the no-brainer. Q's picking up steam to the downside. Oh, Amazon was up this morning, $5. That's a sell setup at the 200. It's not a no-brainer, but because it negated this red bar, so that's a big retracement, and it kind of has the setup of a higher low. But at least for a day trade right here, this 15-minute chart is bearish. That's a total day trade short setup. AMD, nothing. Netflix, nothing. Marijuana, it's going sideways. Here's our Apple. Friday, we were looking at a call spread up here, but it actually didn't have that much of enticing juice. Intel actually looks like a condor here. Gustavo's middle name is Condor, by the way, if you all didn't know that. You got resistance above. Now this would be my strike on the downside, like 43.50 right there. On the upside, it would be 49. And you put your stops in, and you just manage in between. It's that simple. All right, Alex, if NBEV can get over these two bars, then I like it. Then it looks good. Tilray, I need more information. Tagada, I like the fact that it gapped down Friday in a big old engulfing. A 1, 2, 3 would be a nice trade there on Tagada. Microsoft, nothing. Kind of even a condor setup again. If you go, the 110s and the 102s, you can see what the juice bar has to offer. Oh, this thing. That's a 3-day rally is outperforming. Oh, I still have delayed data, so I'm not showing today's data. There's MJ. Nothing there. Facebook, nothing. Well, Facebook looks like a put spread candidate once the fangs and the Qs stabilize. Provided it holds above this, 147.5 area, and then can reverse. That's a put spread candidate. Cron, CGC. Now CGC, it's not a no-brainer, but over Thursday's high. Amazon, IWM is it's churning, and I like this. That's a bullish 15-minute for a day trade. This is the best index. Well, I haven't looked at diamonds. No, IWM. IWM is a day trade long. Here's Bitcoin. I can't believe this tight trading range. Look at that weekly. A couple more carryovers I have here on my other computer. Loco, yeah, Tiva I mentioned. Yep, in my scan. I like it. UAA is off to the races, and then his brother UA. There's, I don't know why they have the two companies. Oh man, look at our Sienna. Oh wow. USM. Now it needs to hold right here for retracement concepts. MPW is negating Friday's red bar as of now. Ross has to trigger. This one has to trigger.